So it's fair to say we've had quite a bit of controversy during the Qatar Grand Prix qualifying, not really for the events that took place right there and then, but the aftermath of it, Max Verstappen's penalty for one, and that was as a result partly of the fact that cars were trying so much to get space and were just unable to do it around the Qatar Grand Prix circuit. I've already done a video going over that penalty and why I don't think it's right for Verstappen to have gotten that, and I very much understand why he will be angry and frustrated after that, probably more fired up as a result. I think he's a much more dangerous prospect to actually get the victory today later on in Qatar. But Fernando Alonso has also weighed in on this, because it was him, I think, that was in front of Max Verstappen when this incident occurred. So again, there was just a big gaggle of cars, for lack of a better term, and Alonso saying that the format has to change, but it hasn't changed in a long time, the qualifying format. And the last time that we changed the qualifying format in Formula 1 was, of course, the elimination qualifying in 2016, which was an unmitigated disaster. The format of it is pretty much stayed the same since, what, 2010? Probably longer, actually. Well, let's have a look at what Alonso said here, because he is the most experienced man in the history of Grand Prix racing. I think this is his 400th Grand Prix start, if he manages to start as well later today. But let's have a look at what's been said. Full article on the F1Chronicle.com. Fernando Alonso has renewed his criticism of the weekend format in F1. The sprint race in Qatar was notably an unexciting affair, with many blaming the sweeping and constant fast corners making passing very difficult. Famously, in Qatar, there are no slow speed corners, there are no major braking events, which makes overtaking really difficult even with DRS along that long pitch straight. And we saw that. Russell was arguably the fastest driver out on track and just could not get past Piastri. It's difficult to overtake on this circuit, F1 veteran Fernando Alonso, who drives for Aston Martin, told Spanish reporters after the sprint race. But I think the format doesn't help more than the circuit itself, he added, because in qualifying with Q1, 2 and 3, the best drivers will always start in front and finish in front. We started in 11th and finished in 11th. In my opinion, the format has to be changed. Alonso has made clear on multiple occasions in the past that he would prefer Formula 1 to revert to a single lap qualifying, which was scrapped because it was unpopular with the fans. Well, if you don't want to do a reverse grid, which I guess the best teams especially don't want to do, or you don't want to make the qualifying format more interesting, perhaps one more lap, then the teams behind won't get many opportunities. Especially on these Saturdays, we all see in a repeat of the first laps of Sunday's Grand Prix. It's happened now at all circuits. Only Brazil had a sprint with more position changes, and that's because there is more degradation there and more things happen. Alonso is expecting another unexciting affair on Sunday in Qatar. I think it will be similar, with one stop for everyone, he said, but instead of 40 minutes, it will be an hour and a half. So I recommend that people who are thinking of watching maybe get some food ready. Alonso choked. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll get a plate. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll have to see how the race goes. Man might have to plate up. But it's around tea time here in the UK when, well, sorry, for those in the south, dinner, as you guys call it. For us in the north, we call it tea time. But it's around tea time, evening meal, the third meal of the day. You know, it's around that sort of time. So maybe I will plate up. I don't know. But it's interesting. I mean, for me, I think it depends on the circuit. I feel like some circuits are fine with the qualifying format. The majority of them are, in my opinion, but I feel like there are some tracks where maybe one-shot qualifying should be tried. Monaco being the shining example of that, because, you know, traffic around Monaco is a nightmare. I'm not just talking about outside of race weekends, especially in Formula 1, and getting past is so difficult. There's so many blind corners, so many points on the track where if you meet a car that's going slowly, you're going to have to either go on the runoff if there is a runoff, or you're going to be in the wall. Usually in the wall in the case of most drivers. So I feel like we should trial it. I feel like we should give it a go, you know. I mean, things like the sprint format has changed pretty much every single year as Formula 1's looking to perfect it. For me, I'm not the massive fan of the sprint anyway. Maybe I'll do that as another video in the off season. But I feel like the problem is exacerbated a bit by the Qatar circuit. Like I said, this is a track that is designed for MotoGP racing. It's all fast flowing corners, which, yeah, in qualifying is awesome to watch, but in the race or in the sprint race, getting past is really difficult. It's really tough because there's no major braking zones. The easiest places to pass in Formula 1 are long flat out events going into hard braking zones. So think of Les Combes at Belgium, think of the double straight that we used to have in Malaysia, Baku as well, that's a long braking zone into turn 1. You know, you've got places that really do help for overtaking. You know, they really encourage it, and Qatar doesn't have any of those. And I actually think it's a decent track, and I think it's a damn sight better than any kind of Doha street circuit that we might get for Qatar. I don't think we should race in Qatar in general. That's another story for another video that I've probably already covered at some point. I did give it a bit of a mention during the, you know, the diversity and inclusion regulations that Formula One's bringing. If you want to get some more info on my kind of take on what Formula One can and should do to be more inclusive to people, notably women and LGBT people, and in some cases, in some of the countries we go to as well, people of colour. But I'm really going off on many tangents here. Let's stick it to the race in the qualifying format. I like the qualifying format in general. I don't think it should change. I feel like they should experiment with some one shot though, because around some tracks where it's very difficult, where the dirty air effect is really bad, it's really difficult to overtake. So like Monaco, like Losail, I feel like we should give it a go. Give it a go, see what it's like, because we have seen problems with that. You know, the incident with Verstappen and Russell, for me, that's a joke. You know, that I've already made my thoughts clear in a previous video if you guys want to check it out. But you know, I feel like that would not have happened around most tracks because of the dirty air effect, because of what happened basically. And I feel like Russell potentially exploited that, and we've seen the negative side of it, and we might see a repeat of it in Abu Dhabi. The final sector of Abu Dhabi is very tight and twisty. It's that hotel section, isn't it? It's where the underpass is, so we could well see a repeat of it. But for me, I think in general the qualifying format's fine. I don't see a big problem with it personally. We've had it since 2010. We've tried to make it better with things like elimination, and that was a disaster. If we do one shot for every single driver, there's a lot of problems with that. There's also the problem, the fact that you get better conditions late on in sessions, so those that go out last, they have an advantage inherently. Then you've got what happens if the weather changes. Then you've also got the fact that there's only one car on track, and yes, it's easy to follow in a sense, but with the modern graphics in Formula One, I feel like that it's still easy to follow anyway. I mean, as a fan follow, I should say, not followers in cars following each other. Yes, it would make it more pure in a sense with that, but still the cars that go last in a one shot have an advantage over those that go first. And yes, it used to be determined on championship position, I think, or something like that. That was the order they went out in. So the cars that do better get the advantage there, which I understand, but I feel like it's more equal when everybody has the same opportunity, the same tyres on the track at the same time. And if you mess that up, it's on you. Sergio Perez, if you mess it up, it's on you. You're out in Q1, you know, and we see that all the time. And I don't think that we would see as many unpredictable results. I don't feel like we'd see many shocks in one shot. I feel like it'd be McLaren 1-2 as it is, or a Ferrari 1-2 every week, and that'd be boring. And we wouldn't see the likes of Sergio Perez rushing to try and get out at the end of the session and do one more lap, and then failing to set a lap that's fast enough. So I feel like I disagree with Alonso personally on the whole, but I do think that we should try it. Try it at Monaco in 25. Why not? If it doesn't work, if it's rubbish, whatever. You know, Monaco is usually a pretty boring watch anyway, so I don't think it's really going to change much. But guys, what do you think? Do you think Alonso's right about this? Do we need to go back to one shot? Do we need to try a different kind of qualifying format? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below as always. And of course, keep it tuned to the F1Chronicle.com for much more news and opinion pieces on the world of Formula One just like this.